Good morning, Rob.
Gabe, how are you?
But I feel okay because they came back, but I also think there's still a lot of issues that were exposed yesterday. What do you think was the biggest issue the Packers had in their loss to the Vikings yesterday?
Man, what a weird game, wasn't it? I mean, there's the biggest issue is hard to come up with because I have so many issues that were, I mean, maybe not any of them were like, oh, the season's over because of this, but there were a lot of like contributing factors. I mean, we could boil it down to simply the kicker. They lost the game by 2 points and he missed 2 field goals, right? I mean, that's the very simplistic approach, and we can get into what the heck they're going to do there more if we want to.
Don't worry. We will, Rob. Don't worry.
There's a couple of things, too. I mean, like, I think I heard you guys talking about pass rush and pressure. Do you know how many passes that Sam Darnold completed outside the pocket yesterday?
Sam Darnold outside the pocket. Okay. All right. I was going to, so one of his 20 was outside the pocket.
Yeah. He didn't have to move. Like, that's a problem. The Packers are last. I just looked this up. They're last in ESPN's pass rush win rate statistic. Okay.
Josh, it's getting worse. It's getting worse.
The Josh Jacobs was supposed to be the workhorse back thing confuses me a little bit because it seemed like the last 2 weeks it's been like more of an even split between him and Emmanuel Wilson. So there's that issue. I'm willing to give Jordan Love a little bit of a pass for his first half because, look, he was going to be rusty. He was going to be inaccurate. I think he had to it took him a while to figure out how much he could push off and use that left leg as a plant and all that. I think that's, he sort of looked like the Jordan Love of early last year where he was low on a lot of throws and a little bit late getting the ball to people. But I thought that got better, obviously, as the game went on. So I'm willing to give him a little bit of a pass there. But and all those other things, I'm sure there's ones that I haven't even mentioned that you've thought of that are minor to medium issues on this team right now.
Yeah, I mean, penalties certainly an issue for this team. They're top 5 right now in penalties. That's something. But going to the pass rush, because to me, and maybe I'm wrong on this, we don't have Chewy here to correct me if I'm wrong on this. I feel like pass rush, that's not necessarily scheme dependent. Yes, you can do things blitzing wise. You can, with just your front four, if you want to rush 4, you can do stunts. But like Rashawn Gary not being able to get home right now, I don't look at that as, they're transitioning to the new scheme, so give him time. Like, is it possible the knee injury robbed him of some athleticism that we weren't going to factor in?
Sure, that's definitely possible, but I do think there is, and it may not be scheme necessarily, Gabe, but I do think that there are techniques that different coaches teach for how they want the pass rushers to operate. Some want a hand placement here, some want a first step this way, some want it the other way. Some want you to set up an offensive lineman with this kind of move or that kind of move at the beginning. So, I mean, while I get it that it's not necessarily scheme dependent, there are techniques within a scheme that differ from coordinator to coordinator and from system to system. So there still could be some of that adjustment happening with the pass rush.
So what, they can go from below average to average? Either way, it's largely concerning no matter what. I mean, there are a lot of things I saw. Andy Herman said, and again, just pointing this out, 1 sack for Rashawn Gary in the last 11 games. You mentioned that the win rate in terms of ESPN, NFL Next Gen Stats has a pressure rate where the Packers' best one is Rashawn Gary, but the number is still below average. I don't know how they get better at this, Rob.
Yeah, I mean in the old days when they couldn't get pressure, Leroy Butler in his playing days would just tell Fritz Shurmur, let's blitz more, and they would blitz more. So maybe that's going to have to be the way they get it temporarily. It's just to send more guys.
And that worked yesterday. Obviously, they got the sack from Quay, got the strip sack from Keyshawn. It seems like that Hafley knows when to send that. So let's go ahead and talk about the kicker then. All right, we've solved the issue of the defense, pass rush. Okay, we blitz more. How do we solve the issue of Narveson making and missing kicks?
Well, it sure sounds like they're sticking with him. At least that's what Matt LaFleur indicated.
Okay, does he actually have confidence though? This is the same guy who said he was praying, last year when Carlson was going out there.
I think his comment yesterday was a direct lesson learned from the praying comment from last season. But before the 49ers game, if I'm not mistaken, he made that comment. Yeah, I mean, he's learned his lesson there. We'll see if he learns his lesson about jumping up and down on the sidelines when the referee won't give him a timeout. But that's another topic that we could get into. But look, the problem is, and Bill Huber, who does a great job covering the Packers for SI.com, he laid out who the kickers are that are available, the guys who have kicked in the league.
Okay.
Not necessarily guys that have gone to camp, like rookies that have gone to camp and have never kicked. But I'll just read Bill's list real quick.
Oh no. Is this going to make me feel bad?
Yes. Well, it's not going to make you feel any better. Randy Bullock, Riley Patterson, Brett Maher, Chad Ryland, who I've never heard of, Matthew Wright, and Anders Carlson. Like, those are the veteran kickers, the guys who have actually kicked for at least a season with a team in the league. So, those are the guys that are, I mean, I guess you could throw Mason Crosby in there, but that's not happening either. There are a bunch of guys that are on the tryout kicker circuit, the rookies, the second-year guys who have yet to kick in the league. And there's every week, there's these guys make the circuit to try out. And I guarantee you at minimum they will work out some guys this week.
Do you expect Braden Hansen to still be the kicker on Sunday against the Rams?
Yes, except here's one thing I thought of that maybe, I don't know if a way out or an option is, let's just say they really, really think Braden Hansen has the talent to be their long-term kicker, but right now he needs to fix something. And the interesting thing is, how many has he missed? 4? All 4 of them, plus the one that didn't count, so really 5, have all been missed wide right, all of them. So maybe they feel like, it's better than my two-way miss where I have no idea whether I'm going to hit a hook or a fade off the tee. That's a problem.
Typically, yes.
But the fact that it's only a one-way miss, maybe they think is fixable. And just hear me out on this for a second.
Okay.
Maybe, just maybe, they take a week off with him and they give Alex Hale a shot. Alex Hale's their practice squad kicker, Australian kid, who really, when he got here in training camp, wasn't great. But last week, Rich Bisaccia actually mentioned how, I'm pretty sure if I remember right, it was unprompted. He brought up how Alex Hale has improved, over the last 5-6 weeks since camp ended. So I don't know, maybe that's an option, that they sit Hansen for a week, let him, sort of go back to work on his technique and try Alex Hale. I mean, that seems far-fetched and unlikely, but is that any worse option than those 6-7 names I just read off?
I don't think so. I don't think that's any worse. Joshy?
Rob, has Rich Bisaccia delivered on what he was expected to do when the Packers hired him?
Boy, that is a $2 million question, Josh, because I think that's what they're paying him, at least $2 million. I don't know. And here's the thing, and I can't remember if we talked about this on the show right after the Brazil game or not, but or maybe it was even before that. I talked to a former kicker in the league who said that, look, Rich is probably a really good special teams coach in terms of scheme, blocking, motivation, all that stuff. But what does he know, or what does any special teams coach know about kicking? Like, kicking is so different than the rest of special teams, the other 10 guys on the field that, and I actually asked Rich this a couple weeks ago of why teams don't hire kicking specialists. And his answer was, well, these guys all have kicking specialists that they work with in the offseason. And that is 100% true.
Sure, but every quarterback has a guy that they work with, and Tom Clements still has a job.
And the other thing too is there's offensive coordinators, and then there's quarterbacks coaches. Why can't there be special teams coaches and kicking coaches? I really think that could. I mean, they've got 8 million coaches in the thing anyway. I mean, remember way back when they used to have exactly. They used to have 8 or 9 coaches in the whole staff, and now they've got 30. So why not have a kicking guy? Now the argument is a guy like John Carney or Jamie Cool, who those are these kicking gurus. They work with 30 kickers. So if one team hired them, their kicking business of working with all these guys and developing kickers from high school and college might go away. And maybe it would for them. They wouldn't want to do it, but I don't see why you wouldn't at least try to bring in on staff a kicking coach, kicking specialist.
Yeah, I think that makes all the sense in the world. So let's go back to the Josh Jacobs thing, because I didn't even think about that. I was thinking about it in the first half when, why is Emmanuel Wilson still getting these carries?
Yeah.
And then, I got lost in the game of them frantically trying to come back. Is that something you guys plan on asking LaFleur this week of why Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson are splitting snaps and splitting carries? Because, again, Jacobs was much more efficient.
Yeah, so he was asked it yesterday, and I'm going to read you the answer. So he said, I don't know what the exact snap counts were, so until I get back and take a peek at it, I don't know. And then the follow-up was basically, well, it looked like they were alternating series. And here's what I thought was really interesting. LaFleur said there were some things that happened early on with some of the protections that were a little bit of an issue that we need to clean up and be better in. And it became a passing game. I mean, we threw the ball 50-some times. So what does that tell you? That tells you that Josh Jacobs like what was doing in pass protection early in that game. Now, there was also, I think it was the first or second series, Jacobs came, and in fact, it might have been right after his first touch, came to the sideline, was getting looked at by the trainer. First, they were looking at his hand. Then they were looking at, I believe it was his right ankle. Now, he ended up going back in, but I wonder if that was an issue for him when it came to pass protection.
Speaking of injuries, Christian Watson, is that Syria? He was carted off the field. It seemed that LaFleur didn't seem very concerned about it after the game, though.
Yeah, I think it's a high ankle sprain from what I've been able to gather. Now, high ankle sprains can be anywhere from a week to 3 or 4 weeks. He did seem to be, moving okay. Devontae Wyatt actually seems like maybe it was worse. He was in a boot and on crutches. So that's the double whammy. He also had an ankle sprain. So I do think those are both the x-rays on Watson. I know that were negative for sure, but it sounds like high ankle sprain. And again, that's, it's hard to know. I mean, some guys can come back from that right away and other guys need a couple of weeks, but my guess is that they would probably miss him for at least a game. We do Jason and I do, and Bill Huber do a Sunday night show on WBAY up here. And the host, Chris Roth, on our panel asked us last night, who can you afford to lose more, Watson or Wyatt? And honestly, the way Jaden Reed and the way they're throwing the ball, I would say you could probably lose Watson before you could lose Devontae Wyatt. And I would never have said that, a month ago, but Devontae Wyatt might be one of their best front four guys.
Yeah, he's the one for me, Rob, that stood out more in the front four more than anybody else.
I agree, 100%.
Would they ever consider taking the sticker off of Quay Walker?
I don't know about the sticker, but I wonder if they find a way to just use him a little bit differently. Some guys just take longer to adapt to a scheme. Some guys aren't a fit for the position they're playing in the scheme. And I'm not going to pretend to know exactly the intricacies of the Will, the Sam, the Mike in this system, but I do wonder if maybe he's better off on one of the other two spots, and maybe play Edgerrin Cooper or play Tyron Hopper a little bit more or whatever. But that is to me the biggest maybe surprise or question about the transition for this defense is that it doesn't seem right now like Quay Walker is. I don't know, playing loose is the right word, playing fast, or just playing like we thought he would play.
Yeah, I feel like Edgerrin Cooper stood out to me more when he's been on the field. And I mean, Xavier McKenna, to me, you can just have him be, the green dot, to have him be calling the plays and then figure out whatever you want to do at that linebacker position.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's got to be a guy who's on the field all the time, and Xavier McKenna is certainly that. So that would probably be the next best option. Would definitely be 29, and he sure seems like he can handle just about anything that they want to throw at him.
Rob, we always appreciate the time, bud, every single Monday. Thanks for giving us the latest up there in Green Bay.